What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today is going to be a super quick breakdown of a perk that I haven't covered yet because it is quite a simple perk, but I also think it's a fairly underrated perk, especially in Warzone, and this is Tracker. Now Tracker is the perk that allows you to see enemy footsteps on the ground, and it behaves exactly like it's described, and this is one of the reasons I just haven't covered it yet, is it's such a simple perk that for most people it doesn't really require much of a description. However, I did want to break it down anyway, because I did have a few questions myself, and I've had a lot of people asking about Tracker and what counters it and everything like that, so let's cover that today. Alright, so let's kick it off with exactly how the Tracker perk works first. And it is so simple. You see these footsteps appear from enemy players when they're moving from one position to another. Now, each one of these illuminated footsteps will last for 8 seconds, and this timer doesn't change for anything. So it doesn't matter if the enemy is sprinting, just regular walking, crouch walking, or even prone, surprisingly. These footsteps will still appear in the same way, and they will each last for 8 seconds. So if you see a footprint while using Tracker, an enemy stepped there 8 seconds ago, and there are no exceptions to that. Now, it is worth noting that you can also get a bit more information out of the footsteps just by seeing them if you don't see the enemy player, based on how far apart they're spread out, as well as how quickly they're disappearing one after another. The more spread the footsteps are, the faster the enemy player was moving. Also, if you see those footsteps disappearing really rapidly one after another, that also means they are moving quickly, whereas if they're really slowly disappearing one after another, that means they were moving slowly. They'll disappear at the same pace that the enemy player was moving at. And really, when it comes to the footsteps at least, that's how Tracker works. It's super basic, but a big question is, how do you counter Tracker? I've been getting asked this a ton. And the answer is, there is no counter at all, not even a soft counter to Tracker. So what I did here in this test is I got it so Enya earned a specialist bonus against me, and this means she has every one of the perks in the game, and yet I still see the footsteps just as if she had no perks equipped whatsoever. Now, just to be clear, I did test all these perks individually as well, just to make sure there wasn't some weird thing going on with the specialist bonus perks. And also, I did want to mention I tested Dead Silence as well, just to see if that would have an effect, and it doesn't at all. But yeah, Tracker has literally no counter whatsoever, and this is why it can definitely be an underrated perk for Warzone, especially if you're the type of player that likes to clear through buildings or play relatively close to enemy players. Now, the reason for this is if you chase somebody into a building, for instance, or if somebody does move from one part of a building to another and you don't hear their footsteps, the Tracker perk is going to show you exactly which room they went in or which direction they took once they got inside that building. And this means you can approach that player with much more confidence. You don't have yourself second guessing like, did he go left or did he go right? You know exactly where that player went. And this is why on some of my more aggressive setups for Warzone, I will actually use the Tracker perk. Now, that just covers the footstep aspects of Tracker. There is another element of Tracker that doesn't really apply to Warzone, but it definitely applies to multiplayer, and this could be helpful. And this has to do with the interaction with the little skulls that appear when somebody ends up dying. So normally in a game, if one of your teammates is killed, a white skull will appear over their body, so you can get that indication that your teammate has died there, and you might want to focus your attention on that area. With Tracker, it also gives you red skulls. Now, these red skulls show where enemy players have been killed by your teammates, which isn't as valuable of information because presumably that threat has now been neutralized, so you don't really have to worry about that. But then again, if people are traveling in packs and stuff, it still could give you some indication of what's going on over there. More importantly with this, if you're using Tracker and you kill an enemy player, the white skull for their teammates doesn't appear, so they don't get that indication that you're coming from that white skull at least. And this is an excellent perk for people that are going to be flanking enemies, especially on larger maps where they're not going to hear your footsteps coming, because they no longer get that indicator that you've killed their teammate and you're coming around to kill them as well. So yeah, when it comes to multiplayer at least, I would say that part of the perk is even more valuable than the footstep part of the perk, because things can get a little bit hectic with all the footsteps everywhere, and it might be just confusing with how many footsteps there could be at any given time. But that aspect doesn't seem to apply to Warzone at all. It's mainly just the footstep part that you want to be focusing on for Warzone. But with that, that's going to wrap it up for today's breakdown on the Tracker perk in Modern Warfare. As for my thoughts on this, honestly, I do feel like there should be some form of a soft counter at least to Tracker. Something that makes it so the footsteps fade away in 4 seconds or 6 seconds instead of 8 seconds. It would still be a great perk to use against those people, but it at least would give some method of countering it. I think if you have some unnatural ability to locate enemy players, there should also be a perk that gives you the ability to counter that unnatural ability. But at the same time, not a lot of people are really using Tracker, so maybe that would make it too weak. So another thing I would propose if they were to do that is maybe give Tracker another little characteristic, and something we've seen before in Call of Duty that I would love to see is make it so it delays the trigger of claymores as well as proximity mines. So if you're moving fast enough, you won't have to worry about them dealing damage to you at all, and this would go along nicely with that more flanky sort of playstyle that Tracker seems to lend itself to. But at the end of the day, if they didn't touch anything with Tracker, I'm totally fine with it. I will continue to use this from time to time on my more aggressive class setups in Warzone. When it comes to multiplayer though, I honestly just don't use it all that often, and I don't really plan to. Of course, those are just my opinions. I'd like to know in the comment section below, what do you guys think about the Tracker perk in Modern Warfare? Do you think it's fine that there is no counter whatsoever to those illuminated footsteps? And do you think it is an underrated perk? Just let me know those thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.